Hello everybody, Raven Knight here, and welcome back to another episode of How to Build, the series where I go through each of my Legends characters, the campaign characters, or any other characters I can think of from For Honor, and teach you how I construct them, what outfits I use, what color schemes do I use, what weapons do I use, executions, emotes, all that fun stuff. It's basically a dive into the personality and background of what I did to construct this character and let y'all kind of experience the fashion and drip that I use to make each one. Now, today we're going to be talking about one of my favorites that I've been getting to play with in the Legend series, Temwah. Temwah, or the rightful king of Egypt as I like to call him, has been a favorite of mine ever since I wrote out his story. He's been a lot of fun to not only write but also to play, and I have made it kind of a meme whenever I play him that he is now the rightful king of Egypt, come to bring the rightful throne to the true queen, you know. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with that, definitely click on the link below where you'll get to hear Temwah's story, like how he is actually not Egyptian by birth. He came from a southern part of Africa, traveled up as a mercenary into the lands of Egypt, met the sister of Neferka, has fallen in love with her and wants to cure her of her illness so that she can be better, and he has to fight and defeat Neferka in order to help her ascend to the rightful throne. It's a whole cool story. Really loved writing it. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. If you have, let me know in the comments whether or not you like Temwah's story. I'd love your thoughts. Anyway, let me go ahead and tell you this about Temwah before we get started. For those of you who are not aware, I think I said this in a video, but if I have not, you're knowing now. Temwah, while something I created, was actually inspired by someone who I know in real life. I have a friend from Zambia who I go to church with. He is a wonderful person, a very nice guy. A really cool accent too, by the way. I could never copy it just the way he does it. But he's a very strong Christian, a very strong friend, and I'm glad to know him. His name is Temwah as well. He recently moved away, and we still keep in contact every now and then. But about the time that Medjay was coming out is when he was about to move. And in his honor, I decided to name my Medjay character after him. And when I was trying to think of a way to design it, I asked Temwah, what do you think I should do? And he told me something very interesting that's going to play into how I build Temwah. And we'll get all into that as we go over how to build him. So let's go ahead and talk about it. First of all, the armor. I use the magistrate helmet, the magistrate chest, and the magistrate arms. Pretty easy, right? That's pretty simple. Now, why the magistrate? Because some would say that, you know, the Undertaker looks better. Why not use Undertaker? And it's true. For one of my builds for Medjay, I do use an Undertaker set. So why the magistrate build? Well, because when I was talking to Temwah about anything unique about his culture, his people, he actually told me that his ancestors used to believe that their warriors could transform into crocodiles, like kind of like a animal transformation thing. And when he told me that, I thought, okay, that works too well. So I have made Temwah here a crocodilian style Medjay. He wears like the Sobek looking thing, so it looks like he's wearing the hide of a crocodile. Now, I wasn't necessarily doing this as a reference to Sobek, but more as a reference to Temwah's cultural origins and about that story that the warriors of his people could become crocodiles, at least that legend, and I thought that would be a really, really cool tie-in. So that is the reason I did that. As for the crown, when I initially did the first Temwah story, I used the Magistrate's Alternative set, which is the same thing, only without the crown. But I thought that since he's trying to elevate Neferka's sister to the throne, and he wants to marry her, he sees himself as the rightful husband or lover to the throne, so he allows himself the slight vanity choice to wear a crown to indicate Neferka is not the true king. And maybe he would probably tell you I'm not even the true king. Like, I'm not either. The one I love, Yara, the sister, she is the rightful queen, and if I am lucky, she will take me as her king. So he's very much a romantic, which I really liked about Temwah's story, and Temwah himself liked it too. He messaged me later saying, "Dude, I love it." Okay, so as for his weapons, I use venomous treachery right head and venomous treachery left head, but I use Garden of Gold shaft. That's important. I use venomous treachery right and left head, but the Garden of Gold shaft. Now, why do I do that? Because if you look at the venomous treachery shaft, it doesn't look quite as good to me. That looks a little bit too colorful, and I want it to be a more solid color. So I went with the Garden of Gold shaft, which has a more metallic solid color to it, which I just think makes it look a little bit better. Nothing else to it. As for why I use the Viper look, I thought, we're going with a reptilian kind of theme, kind of an animal kind of theme. So I wanted to keep that animal idea going. Plus, let me be frank, the heads for this look really, really good. So, hey, why not? So, to recap, Magistrate Armors, Venomous Treachery right and left head, Garden of Gold shaft. We got that? All right, we've got that. So, moving on. For traits, obviously default 1. The skin color, you're going to want to use the 4th option. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to want to use the 4th option because honestly, that is about the real Temwah skin color. You could go with the 5th option as well and be just as well off, but I went with the 4th one because when I was really thinking about it, I felt like that seems closer to Temwah's actual skin color. Although, again, you could go with this and be just fine. Really, honestly, anything between the 3rd option and the 5th would be just fine, but still. 4th is what I went with. For material, I use the gold color. Now, I know a lot of people swear by the marigold from Medjay, and it doesn't look bad. But the problem is with the Magistrate helm, the material will go not only into the crown, but also into the crocodile's teeth and eye. And I didn't want that. So I kept it gold because the gold can still hide a little bit in the teeth. It looks a little bit more natural. That's my one problem with the marigold. Marigold looks almost like it was painted, whereas gold looks almost natural. And I want that natural look. I want him to look like a natural looking warrior. Okay? So, now, ornaments. I use the Prosperous Scorpion ornament, but you don't have to use this one. The Prosperous Scorpion ornament comes by owning the Medjay Hero offer, so that means that I bought him as part of the package. But if you don't have that, which some of you may not, there are other options. You can also go with the Regal Seer, which comes with the Frostwind Knights event pass if you did that. And if you don't have that, then another good option is the Skilled Master, which you get by completing Warrior Trials with Grade A Mastery. So you can definitely do that. And if you don't have any of those, which is possible, you could still go with Entangled Snakes, which is available for 1,000 steel. I haven't gotten it because I really like what I have. I think the Scorpion look looks really nice. Now, moving on to everything else. So for your head, like what are you going to put on your head? Well, the crocodile's already there, right? So what are you going to put on it? No paint pattern, no symbol, but you're going to want the Caltrops embossing, which is unlocked at Reputation 3, level 20. It gives it this nice texture that looks almost like scales, almost like crocodile scales. So I thought that would work really well. Now, if you want to use a paint pattern, use something solid that'll blend in very well, kind of like Stellar Knights 2. Any of those would work, but you don't really need one, so I don't use one, right? Okay, so that's the reason why for that one. For right and left shoulder, since you're going to be putting an ornament on, I don't really use anything because the ornament's going to cover those up anyway. If you don't want an ornament, then you can put whatever you want there. I just don't add anything because really with the ornament there, it doesn't need it. It's going to cover it up anyway. Watch. No matter what paint pattern I choose, it's still going to cover up most of it. You're barely going to notice the difference, right? So not a lot of point. For chest and back, I use the Cat's Eye 1 paint pattern, which is unlocked at Reputation 4, level 9. And then for the embossing, I use Caltrops again. Because once again, it gives that kind of crocodilian scaled look. It gives that scaled texture. And you can unlock that again at Reputation 3, level 20. So as long as you get your Medjay up to Reputation 3, level 20, you should be able to make this just fine. So Rep 4 Medjay users out there, you know how to do this, right? Right? Excellent. Okay. For standards, I use the Stellar Kingdom 3 for the standards. That is a paint pattern that you get by doing the Year 6 Season 4 Battle Pass. It's a free pass at Tier 12. Okay? So, should be easy to get. If you've been playing the Battle Pass, you should have this. So, you can definitely use that. If you do not have that for whatever reason, like let's say that you just refuse to play the Battle Pass and refuse to use anything off of it for whatever reason, you can fall back on the basic vertical halves, or you can fall back on the lightning eyes. Either one will work, but I like the intricacy of the Stellar Kingdom 3 look, so I would go with that. And then for a symbol, I use the double crescent, which is unlocked at Reputation 2, level 3. So all of those would work fine for what you want to do. So with all that out of the way, time to hear the big one. What's the color? What color do you use? I use Devastating Swarm from Medjay's Deliverance Event Pass. So you did have to play the Event Pass to get this skin. You had to get that paint pattern from that. Devastating Swarm, I think, looks really good. It looks very solid, so I definitely enjoy that. But if you don't have that, you can also use Undead Awakening which is another solid option, which is gotten from getting the Undead Awakening Illustrious outfit. That's another very good one. Or the Desert Deities, which is gotten from the Desert Deities Elite outfit or owning the Medjay Hero offer. So though there's 3 solid options. Like I said, I use Devastating Swarm, but you can also use Undead Awakening or Desert Deities. Those are your best options to make Temwah. Okay? All right, so with all that out of the way, let's now take a look at the feats. For the feats, I use all of the standards feat of the Medjay, because the way I look at it, Temwah was a mercenary, but he has learned from the Medjay and wants to practice their battle arts, because if he's going to rule as a king of Egypt alongside Yada, he wants to make sure that he knows how they fight, knows how they live. My pastor used to tell me, if you love someone or something, you learn about them or that thing. And since he loves Yada, he's willing to learn all there is to know about being a Medjay and being an Egyptian. That is his whole goal. So use Sunshine Strength, Moonlight Drain, Scarab Relief, and Astral Manifestation. Now, if you had to pick something different, I would change one thing. I would change Heal on Block or Second Wind for the third one. Because genuinely, Second Wind works just as well as Scarab Relief. The only difference is with Scarab Relief, you can heal other people. With Second Wind, you heal yourself. And you can also switch up Sunshine Strength for Iron Lungs, because Temwah in his story did a whole lot of traveling. So he would be very used to long, arduous journeys that require him to be out of stamina. Those would be what I would use. So now you know the feats that are necessary. Not too hard, not too hard. For executions, I use all of the basic executions of the Medjay, Heatwave Vigor, Dunes of Retribution, and Pharaoh's Judgment. All of those, just really fit his weapon style. I really thought those worked. Plus, he doesn't have any other unique executions yet. Well, I mean, he has Guardian of Ruins, but I don't like that execution. And when we get to his executions graded, I'll explain why. So I'm not a big fan of that one. Again, talk about it later. But instead, I use I use a Plague Unto You. I know it's more of a supernatural execution, and I like to keep things kind of realistic if I can. But again, if the whole idea is that his ancient tribe believed firmly that they could transform into crocodiles, maybe he knows some other secrets or arts of his people that he's not telling anyone else, and maybe he can release some kind of deadly plague upon them or something like that. It's kind of a funny idea that I had, but trust me, once he gets another unique execution that I like, I will probably replace this with that new execution. Keep in mind that my Temwah right now, in fact, all of my characters that I build are subject to change. They can go through alterations or changes over time, and know that some of these may change, especially since Medjay is so new and he still has a lot of new stuff coming out. So as he gets new stuff, things are subject to change. For emotes, I use Tribute to the Throne and Fight Me. Fight Me is just kind of this emote that I kind of feel like just bring it on, I'm ready to take you. And Tribute to the Throne, again, his reverence to Yada, the true Queen of Egypt. Combat, I use Staff Spin and Welcome to My Domain, mostly because I haven't gotten anything else for him yet. For signatures, I use Proud Descendant, the basic one, because the only other, don't get me wrong, the other one that he has, what was it? Staff Skills, yeah, that one's kind of cool, but I didn't think it really fit because it's kind of a show-offy kind of shove it in your face, kind of, yeah, I'm so cool. And that doesn't really fit for Temwah. I always saw Temwah as kind of humble, kind of this person who was willing to humble himself to others. The only reason he wears the crown is because it's a symbol of his representing of the true king, the true queen of Egypt. He does not submit to the current king of Egypt, Neferka. He's going to stand by the true queen. And so he wears the crown to symbolize that I don't fight for the man who currently wears it. Proud Descendant to me just feels more like a very basic, I'm here to fight and win, and this is the weight of the weapon that stands against you. So I thought that signature would work very well. And then for effects, I don't use any except for on the execution with the Plague. I use Incalescent Memory because it fits so well. Actually, take a look. This is what it looks like without. This is what the execution looks like without Incalescent Memory. Yeah, it looks fine, right? Now, if we add Incalescent Memory, doesn't that look so much better? It looks like a supernatural hex is being placed upon them from the desert itself, like something from a faraway land, some kind of mystic art that's been lost. I thought that would look really cool with this. I wanted to add that. So that is the only one I use. Everything else, very vanilla. I don't tend to add a whole lot of effects because, again, I like to keep things realistic for the most part. I'd like to keep it grounded in some degree of reality. Sometimes I'll stretch a little bit, sometimes I'll push the limits, and when those come, I'll tell you about it, but this is the usual for me, and I didn't want Temwah to step too far outside the realms of reality. But there it is, guys. That is how to build Temwah. So let me know in the comment section, guys. Do you like Temwah? Do y'all enjoy this? Do you believe that Yada should be the true queen of Egypt and you will join Temwah in his quest to make her so? Do you enjoy the story? Do you think it's cool that he's based on an actual friend of mine? What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, guys, I will see you in my next video. Take care.